Hello, my name is Tom Torres. I'm the Director of Sales with DSA.
In the 15 years that I've worked with DSA, I've worked with a range of companies, everything from early stage startups where the founders are working out of their garage to some of the biggest medical device companies in the world. And I've been utilizing these online resources all those years to help the customers, specifically with Vention Medical, that is now Nordson Medical. And it's really helped in those early stages to be able to go to a trusted supplier that can kind of keep you moving throughout the entire process of the stage gate. But I also have a couple of examples where, not using the right trusted resources from the beginning can kind of create some problems. I have one particular program that comes to mind when I talk about those types of issues. Happened to be a large medical device company specializing in orthopedics and joint preservation devices. Their sports medicine business at the time was a segment that was really growing, and they had recently acquired some intellectual property focused on an anchor system for soft tissue repair in the shoulder area. They were really excited about this new technology because it really filled a gap in their portfolio offering to their customers. And they were so excited that they decided they were going to try to launch this product within about 9 months after acquiring the IP. This was a really tight timeline given some of the existing challenges related to the supply chain that were acquired along with the intellectual property. So prior to the acquisition, quantities for this particular device had been limited to 10 or 25 pieces per build, and they used an array of different suppliers, many of them being local job shops that could turn around components very quickly, but they didn't have any real quality systems. They certainly were not ISO 13485 compliant. Some of the components were ordered directly from industrial web stores such as McMaster Carr, and the guarantee of continued availability and traceability simply weren't there. When looking at how to set up a supply chain, looking only at speed at the beginning of the project, without consideration for the long-term quality and scalability, was now kind of resulting in a potential extension of those launch timelines and the impact of not having this customer have this game-changing device in their arsenal when they went to their customers. In one case, the most critical portion of the device, the implant, was being machined by a local guy with a mill and a lathe. But they had no way of producing thousands of parts or the desire to create a quality system to meet the ongoing requirements. So, utilizing trusted, qualified sources is always best, and that's why DSA and Chamfer have created these tools. So after the acquisition was complete, our customer did decide that the quickest way to move forward and get this product into the market was to utilize an existing relationship with an OEM contract manufacturer that they'd used before. It happened to be one that DSA was already working with. Our partner definitely had the ability to quickly scale into sustained manufacturing, but priority number one was really to establish a robust and cost-effective supply chain that could really keep up with the forecasted demand, and within quality systems that exceeded the customers and the contract manufacturer's requirements. DSA took a pretty active role in helping to identify this new supply chain with companies both inside our network and outside. Our breadth of capabilities is pretty wide, but there were a few areas for this particular product where we just were not a good fit. So we had to help reach outside our network and use some referrals to make sure we found the best solution that could meet both the short-term timeline goals while still keeping in mind the requirement for the quality and cost and scalability. So, when you talk about the DSA methodology, it's kind of a pretty broad term, but when creating a supply base for new programs, it really is important not to sacrifice the long-term quality and scalability for speed. These do not have to be mutually exclusive from one another. Utilizing established sources for components and assembly services actually provides the best chance of compressing the overall timeline for complex programs. there's been numerous times where I've had to start over with a customer to requalify, one of our suppliers, because what they had chosen in the beginning just simply couldn't keep up with the demands of the program. In addition to using off-the-shelf components from reputable sources like DSA and Chamfer, your supply base needs to be able to iterate quickly using, offerings from their secret menu, as Barry referred to. Thinking outside the box, and also thinking about how they're going to scale this into production once you get past the 10 and 20 piece builds that are common in the early stages of development. The partners need to be able to manufacture efficiently within a robust quality system. And this is just as critical for early stage startups as it is for the biggest device companies. We've seen numerous times where having a robust supply chain for a small company that then gets acquired actually increases the value of the company and the IP that they're selling. And it's my opinion, just based on those 15 years, that the honest and open communication between everyone is just so critical. The supply base has to be willing to offer up design enhancements for performance, and be thinking about design for manufacturing improvements and processes along the way. If your requirements, aren't in the wheelhouse, we have to be willing to say no and pass on the opportunity and potentially just refer this off to someone else that we know within the industry that's better suited to take care of the current requirements. That's really, one of those keys in making sure that we have a win-win scenario for the customer, for our partners and for DSA. So in the case of my example, it was really important that we were going to have to rapidly iterate the prototypes. We were only given about 2 weeks for design freeze. 2 months for design freeze before validation and verification testing was set to begin. That obviously is not a lot of time to make all of that happen. Each of the suppliers that was determined to be part of the process, had to have some well-established quality systems in place so that audits could be passed easily, and there wasn't going to be any cause for concern with their ability to do this in a quality environment. And utilizing a network of these established device companies, with the long track record, is really what helps you clear these hurdles quickly. They don't have anything to do directly with the design, but it's just as important that you've got a company that can be trusted and, pass audits and provide that traceability. One of the examples in this case was the molded components. It had some molded handles. Up until this point, prior to the acquisition, those handles had been machined and 3D printed. And a plan had to be put in place so that tooling and fixturing could be developed both on a prototype level and a production level kind of simultaneously. So the prototype molds were ordered quickly, and the production tooling was ordered at the same time through a different manufacturer. Tweaks had to be made after those prototypes were kind of tested, and it really helped to have that timeline all kind of scoped out. And with everyone on board from the beginning, it really, really helped to make sure that the project could stay on task and everyone worked together. Ultimately, it took about 10 months to get this to market, which isn't bad considering the challenges that we saw at the very beginning of the program. And as Barry, this was such a successful program for DSA and one that I'm certainly very proud of. And, we stayed involved for both this current generation or the first generation, as well as most of the line extensions and next generations of this device. And it was certainly a game changer for our customer. Unfortunately, because of the NDAs that we have in place, we can't go into too many more details, but, certainly is one that I'm very, very proud of.